Okay, so I just want to speak briefly about a disturbing incident that occurred at Ningbo Zoo in China. Ningbo is a city just to the south of Shanghai in Zhejiang province. What happened was a man described as a tourist, but he was Chinese national, so I'm assuming that means in the context of coming from another province, um, climbed over the tiger enclosure at Ningbo Zoo. As I understand it, the issue was that he didn't want to pay the fee, which was I've heard $16 equivalent of that. Well, basically, the tigers mauled the guy to death, and this went on for over an hour before the zookeepers killed certainly one of the tigers. This is controversial on so many levels. Firstly, whether the man was incredibly stupid or suffering some sort of mental illness, I don't know. On the surface, it is an astonishingly stupid thing to do. Um, and I don't say that lightly because, a man's dead and it's his own fault, but, no one should gloat about this. It's still a tragedy. Um, I do understand, though, the sentiment that why should a tiger be killed? Why should any animal be killed because of human error? I mean, the tigers are in this enclosure. It's their territory. They're wild animals. They don't know any better. So killing them certainly would seem immoral in that sense. I take the view that as human beings, we need to care for our fellow human beings. Every animal in nature looks after its own, so to speak. But as human beings, we're supposed to have the evolutionary intelligence not to do stupid things. This isn't the first time this has happened in China. Just a few months ago at Beijing Zoo, similar thing happened with a woman. I think I made a video about that at the time. And the general consensus is the man is an idiot, etc., etc. Like I say, there's a few things about this make me uneasy. Firstly, the fact that people were filming it. I mean, however you feel about the man's actions, and I think no one can question it was a profoundly stupid thing to do. It's a little bit sick filming a man's death rather than trying to help him by, I don't know, distracting the tigers. Um, Also, killing them, well, the zoo has to cover itself. I don't think, I know animal lovers hate that aspect, and I can understand that. But realistically, the zoo isn't going to do otherwise. They're not going to not kill one of the tigers, and that's wrong. I get it. Um, I think there's a number of issues here. Clearly, the security needs to be improved so that people can't climb over into the enclosure. Secondly, there seems to be some need of public education in China because this is twice now in a row, both involving tigers and both within China. Um, if this was happening all over the world, then yeah, I don't know. There must be something going on in China that there is a minority of incredibly stupid people who just can't see the danger. I mean, it does make you wonder how they can think it's okay to go into an enclosure with a wild animal. It's astonishing, to be quite honest. Um, I think there's also a moral issue here that people were filming a man's death. I mean, they were clearly shocked. There's plenty of videos on this, and I warn you, the videos are graphic. You could see blood on the man's face. Some of them are quite sensationalist. So I really don't know what to think. I mean, I could definitely understand people angry that the zoo decided to kill one of the tigers because it never needed to be that way because of this man's actions. But I don't think people should gloat about it. I don't think they should sort of, in the end of the day, being stupid doesn't mean someone deserves to die. and it's entirely his own fault. But that's not. In the end of the day, he has a family. Don't I don't think people should gloat about it and kind of be like, oh well, that's what you get for, And I said the same thing in the last case. Um, I've been to a Chinese zoo and they're appalling. I'll say that quite honestly. I mean, you can make the case that every zoo in the world is, but in China, there really, really is zero sort of concept of animal welfare. At least in some other zoos, there's a bit of focus on, relieving boredom by providing tasks for the animals. Say, for example, you have a polar bear enclosure. They did these, or, in China, the only sort of wild animal where there's any focus on welfare seems to be pandas. With every other animal, it seems to be a commodity. Now, you can say this for zoos all over the world, but I'm just going by my own experience from what I've seen. I went into a zoo in Yongzhou City, and frankly, it was just, you know, it was disgusting. Some of the animals had actually died in their enclosures. No one had bothered removing them. There was no one at all. There was no keepers in sight except the girl at the sort of checkpoint. It was just, I've been to a number of zoos in my life, and I certainly understand the moral arguments against them. But I do think they vary. I do believe that. You know, not long ago there was an issue with uh, a polar bear at a zoo, and no, it wasn't a zoo. Actually, it was an enclosure in a shopping center in Chengdu City, and it was described as the world's loneliest polar bear. I think China really needs to drastically improve its attitude to animal welfare. And, I'm not singling China out. Most countries have issues with this, but clearly there's a problem in China, and there needs to be an end of this attitude that animals are commodities, especially endangered animals. So, summed up, yes, the man was incredibly stupid, but people shouldn't glorify his death. In the end of the day, this guy died a brutal death, and his family have to live with that. So I don't think people should glorify it. As for people taking pictures of it, well, that's there's definitely moral issues with that. Um, and finally, clearly, there needs to be a review of security in zoos. This is the second time this has happened. Now, to be fair, in the Beijing case, the safari park had been abundantly clear: do not get out of your vehicle. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. If you're Chinese, don't please don't think I'm just singling China out. I'm just saying clearly there's a problem here, and I don't think you could deny that. It's the second time it's happened in less than half a year. So first in Beijing, now in Ningbo. Yeah, let me know your thoughts.